I just saw Oppenheimer this weekend, and I highly recommend going to see it in theaters because the sound design was incredible and totally worth watching in theaters. But there's one scene in particular that everyone is talking about, and it's kind of an obvious scene because it's the reason people are going to see that movie, which is the atomic bomb exploding. Everyone knows there's going to be a big boom in the movie, and everyone goes in there waiting for that big boom. But it's how they did it that I thought was super creative and masterful. So if you already saw it, you know what I'm talking about, which is that the moment the atomic bomb goes off, everyone's so used to just seeing a big bomb and a huge explosion sound like immediately when you hear it. But Christopher Nolan made the decision to really put you in the seat of the observers and witness what it would be like to see an atomic bomb explosion miles away and just sit in silence, just waiting in tension before that shockwave and that sound actually hits you. So it did get me thinking, how long were the observers who were watching this first Trinity bomb explosion actually sitting there in silence before the shockwave hit them? I think it's pretty clear that the movie exaggerated it to, give it a big sense of tension and really let you sit in the magnificent visuals of a bomb exploding, and you're just kind of there waiting on the edge of your seat, waiting for that big hit. And when that thing hits in theaters, especially in IMAX, holy shit, that is one of the most intense sounds I've heard in a movie theater. I think just for that moment, just for this scene, it was worth watching in theaters. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it for that. But anyways, I was curious, how long did it actually take the observers to feel that explosion in real life? So I did a little bit of research. The first thing I did was pull up a map of the Trinity test site to see exactly where the bomb was detonated and how far away the observers were. And it looks like they had 3 shelters, all equidistant away from each other, north, west, and a south shelter, exactly 10,000 yards away from the 0 point, as they call it. So to figure out how long it took them to actually hear it, you just have to calculate the speed of sound based on the distance. So the easiest way to give you a relatable sense of how sound travels is thunderstorms. Everyone's been in a thunderstorm. Everyone's seen a massive just lightning strike miles away, and then you don't hear it right away. It looks massive. It looks scary. It looks like it's going to be really loud, and you brace yourself, and it takes a few seconds, and then it finally hits you. So in that same way, the atomic bomb test was far enough to where when the explosion happened, the sound took a long time to actually hit the observers. The kind of standard metric is that at 20 degrees Celsius, the speed of sound through air is 343 meters per second. Now you're probably asking, what does the temperature have to do with the speed of sound? What a lot of people don't realize is that sound is actually waves of energy propagating through the air. So if that air is hotter or colder, hot air rises, cold air drops. So, it might take a longer time for things to get here. I mean, it's not going to be a huge difference, but generally it can vary. So unless we were there with a thermometer and we actually knew the exact temperature and all that stuff and wind and a bunch of other factors, we can't really get an exact measurement of how fast sound would travel in that environment. But for now, we're just going to use 343 meters a second as our metric. So we know the observers were 10,000 yards away, which converts over to 9,144 meters. You then divide that by the speed of sound, 343 meters a second, and you get 26.65 seconds. So we can assume that if you were there on the day of the Trinity test explosion, you would have been sitting 10,000 yards away, and you would have seen the bomb go off so bright that people described it as being brighter than full daylight for about 2 seconds. And then you were able to turn and look at it. Just imagine this massive cloud of fire erupting into the sky, and you hear nothing. It's got to be one of the most surreal feelings in the world. And then you just sit there and sit there and sit there. And 26 seconds later, that's when you would not only hear the sound, but you'd be hit with a wave of pressure called a shock wave. And people were even knocked back. And so that felt significantly shorter than the movie made it. So I actually went back to check. And the movie, between when the bomb goes off right at the 0 from the countdown to when they actually hit the first observers, was 1 minute and 41 seconds. So way exaggerated from what it actually was. But I think that was a creative choice because in that moment, you've got to be so on edge that 26 seconds must feel like an eternity waiting for it to hit, and it doesn't hit. I think you see something that massive and you're probably expecting it to hit you within 5-10 seconds. So 26 and a half seconds must feel like a lifetime, which I think is what they were going for in the movie. They really wanted you to feel on the edge of your seat. You're like, when is it coming? When is it coming? Everybody knows it's coming. And then eventually it just finally hits you when you least expect it. And I think it was really well done. But I was just curious. I wanted to geek out a little bit and find out how long it actually took. I have read other reports that say it took up to 40 seconds for the actual shockwave to hit, but there was no real evidence that they were using in terms of like calculations. So I was just curious to kind of do it with basic knowledge. And this is what I got. I highly recommend going to check out that movie. The sound design is incredible. I think when it comes out and I actually have access to like, watch it multiple times and maybe grab some scenes from it, I would love to do a deep dive into the sound design because it was just really, really well done, really creative. And if you're into sound design or just sound in general, go to the movies to see it. It's totally worth it, I promise. All right, that's it for now. Slightly different video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought. Was the dialogue mixing as bad as Nolan's other movies? I don't know. I think I was able to understand a little bit more, but there was definitely some moments where I was like, what did he just say? And it's the movie theater, so you can't rewind. And there's no captions. But let me know what you think. If you like this content, please like it, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. It helps me out a ton. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of next month. I think I'm almost there. So if you do like the content, I would highly appreciate it. And thanks for watching. Take it easy.